Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the World IA Cafe Speaker Series. Thank you for joining in today. I know this will be a great webinar for you, and I'm sure you will enjoy it. I get a feeling this will be a little bit different compared to the webinars we have had in the last few weeks. My name is Rupa Mishra. I'm an associate professor at Rutgers University. I manage and teach in the user experience design and product design concentrations in the MBS program. I'm also an active member of World IA Association. I see some of my colleagues here from World IA Association. The topic for today's webinar is from maker to connector. I like the term connector. The speaker for this interactive event is Beau Ulrey. Beau has a background in graphic design and photography. His interest in interaction design and how to positively impact large groups of people and connect them with brands in richer ways. Very nice. Over the last 2 years, he shifted from designing pixels to managing several teams, creating the enterprise design system at a US bank. He's a man of many passions, such as hiking, taking care of plants, I love that, exploring new places with his family, I love that too, etc., etc. It may be best to share his LinkedIn profile link in the chat. Let me do that. Right here. Okay. So I would also like you to know that we'll be recording all the speakers in this World IA Cafe series. The videos will be available on the World IA's website. Let me put the link in the chat. It's a great organization to network and meet people from all over the world. If you're interested, I would strongly suggest to join the organization. Every year we host the World IA Day, and this has been going on since 2012. The format for the Cafe Speaker Series is this: about 45-50 minutes would be the talk, followed by 10 minutes Q&A. So if you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask as many questions as you like. Also, I would like to remind you, this is an excellent opportunity to network and connect with people from other parts of the country and the world as well. So if you would like to share your LinkedIn profile link, please put it in the chat. Let me put mine. I will also share with you my department's website link if anyone is interested in our UX or product design master's programs. And finally, I would say enjoy the webinar today, and over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Rupa. Thanks for setting this up, and thanks for inviting me. It's a joy to be here. And a couple caveats before we get into it. I like to take care of plants. That doesn't mean I'm successful. So I do kill a lot of plants. The other caveat is I think it's probably going to look a little bit different than 45 minutes presenting. I have about 20 minutes of me talking, and I shared a link to a FigJam file in the chat. So if I'm hoping everyone has an easy time jumping into that file and getting access. If it gives anyone trouble, let me know. But what I'm hoping we can do is all be in that file together, and then I'll walk through a few concepts and do an introduction and share my own personal experience. But I'd love to hear from people in the group also in the audience, like what questions do you have around this topic of moving from a contributor to a manager? Are there things that have worked well for you? Do you have your own experiences to share? I know like I'll share a bit of my background and where I'm at right now, more just so you know where I'm coming from and the types of environments I've designed in and managed in. But there's a huge spectrum of like what teams look like and what designer roles look like and manager roles. So I'm hoping we can unpack that together, and yeah, we'll just kind of go from there. So I'll share my screen. Give me one sec. All right, I think it's working. Can someone confirm that you see a FigJam file that says, "I'm so glad you're here"? Okay, if not, I can try again. Let me try. Okay, how about, oh, I see. I have to grant access. Oh no, I don't think I'll be able to do this because I'm on my work computer. Rupa, would you be able to go to that link and share your screen?
Sure, sure.
Sorry, I didn't think about the access issues. Okay, perfect. And then I think what I'll do is spotlight myself. So hopefully it prompts you, and then you'll be able to just kind of follow along with me. So you shouldn't have to do anything, and I think I should be able to just kind of pull you with me. I'll check it real quick. Okay, I think it's working. Appreciate it. Thanks for helping. Okay, so first of all, I'm so glad you're here. Again, yes, my name's Beau Ulrey. I'm with US Bank right now. I'm a senior design system manager. So I'm managing about 7 different teams that are all working on the design system for our apps and our websites and almost everything digital. So it's been quite a journey to go from being a designer on a product team to managing and being that role for the team. I've got my LinkedIn here as well. You can find it there. I love that people have been sharing LinkedIn profiles in the chat. If you'd also like to introduce yourself in this space, you totally can. But that's up to you because we're already kind of networking in the chat, so that's fantastic. The next section here is just what are the goals for today. So if you have specific goals that you want to share, that I can maybe adjust what I cover to help cover what you're hoping to learn, we can do that. The goals that I've added here are I'm hoping just to share my own experience and be generally helpful to all of you who've made space and time to be here, who might be considering managing or are currently managing design teams. I'm here to meet some new people. I see some familiar names, which is awesome too. And I'm also here to learn from you, the audience, what's important to you, and what questions you might have that maybe I can help with, or maybe we can figure out together today. As we're going, there's a section here for questions. If you have a question about anything we cover, you can just click that Ask a Question button that's in purple, and it'll pop up and you can just type your question and submit it. If I'm hoping we have time to cover all questions, but we can also use this after the fact, and I can follow up and share some answers if we run out of time. And then if anything stood out to you and you would like to add it to the what did you learn section, that would be really awesome too. Again, just to give me some feedback and help the audience a little bit. So feel free to add to any of these as we go. You can jump in and just add your notes yourself. To add text to any of these sticky notes, just double click on them and then start typing. You can also hit S on your keyboard, and that will pull up stickies, and you can add a fresh one and add anything that you'd like to add. So as we go, feel free to add any questions, add anything that you've learned. add anything that you'd like to contribute. And you can also add stuff in context as we go, and we'll have times to chat as well. So just a little bit about my background. Again, just so you kind of know where I'm coming from. I started really digging into the design world during school. So I went to Spring Arbor University. It's a small liberal arts school in Michigan, and I learned art history, fine art, creating connections between different subjects. There was a good blend of free exploration and also a technical focus. I was able to travel a little bit, so ended up spending about a month in India and was able to explore things like medium format photography and graphic design and a little bit of web design and a little bit of painting, and kind of get exposed to a whole bunch of different mediums. Right after school, I did a little bit of wasting time, and then I got my first internship with a small company called Icon Worldwide that were based nearby Zurich, Switzerland. And I was able to go there for 3 months and just enjoy Switzerland, which was amazing, but also work in a lot of different aspects of design production. So we did printed pieces, digital ads, websites, apps, really got to try a little bit of everything and really fell in love with interaction design. So I worked on my first native app when I was there, and that was something that I really enjoyed, like just taking everything I had learned about design and photography and applying it to an experience that someone might use on a daily basis or once a week or something like that, that could really impact their lives and open up new possibilities for them. So that became something I was really interested in doing. When I came back to the States, I was able to get connected with someone who'd gone through that internship, who was working at IBM and working on applications to help in the HR space. So helping companies recruit, find talent, hire them, help them grow their skills, help challenge them, and just be the best employees they can be. And I call us small potatoes because the audience that we made our products for was very small. We were creating things for HR professionals or executives, and we were solving big data problems or attempting to. And this was just a time of huge learning for myself. I got exposed to design systems as the Carbon design system was kicking up. While I was at IBM, they launched IBM Design Thinking and their enterprise design thinking practice. So it was a really great time just to learn all these different aspects of design that I hadn't practiced before. So I was there for about 5 years and really never stopped learning and trying new ways to do design. And from there, I'm at US Bank now, and I call this big potatoes because the apps and the workflows we create go out to a very large consumer audience. So I worked on things like how a user would pay a bill through the app or deposit a check, and those experiences would get like millions of check deposits each month. So we would make tiny adjustments and get to see a really large scale of impact. And then from working on the apps directly, I shifted to focusing on the design system and also moving from being a designer to being a manager. So that's what I'm doing now, and that's what I want to focus on, how that change took place and a few things that I've learned. And I'm really curious to know what resonates with everybody and what other things you'd like to dig into a little bit. So first, jumping into the last 2 years, again, this was me moving from design lead essentially to design manager. So there's a lot of ways that the role and responsibilities changed. Everything in the manager side of this table is work in progress. So I don't think I do all this stuff amazingly, but it's stuff that I'm learning to do better. So as design lead, it was all about producing on a single team, possibly for several products at the same time, but really focusing on that one team. But as a manager, it's about guiding several teams. As a design lead, I was interviewing candidates and sharing feedback, considering who might join the team that I'm on and trying to help with that process. But as a manager, I'm recruiting, I'm organizing interviews, making hiring decisions, a lot more involved with that process across several teams. As design lead, the big focus was heads down time or headphones on time, the time that I'm in Figma or Sketch and I'm in a deep focus state trying to create a prototype or create an illustration, whatever we need to finish the job. But as a manager, my focus is on conversations and coaching time. So that was a big shift we'll get into a little bit more. I moved from creating prototypes and assets to creating teammate experience. So instead of looking at the user journey to deposit a check, I was looking at a designer's journey to join our team, onboard, be productive. What does that look like? And as design lead, I was collaborating mostly with my own direct team. But as a manager, it's looked like collaborating with multiple teams and also broader leadership. And last one, as a design lead, I was mentoring a few visual designers. But as a manager, I'm really coaching or trying to coach all the designers on the team to the best that I can. So those are some of like the high level differences that I've come across. And then if we jump into what's new a little bit more, one of the big things that shifted for me was deliverables. So as we go through this section, I'll just go like one topic at a time. If you have any like questions or things you want to add, there's a lot of space off to the right. You can feel free to add things there. But deliverables look very different for me as a manager versus designer. This one might be kind of obvious, but for years as a designer, I got used to doing design thinking, pushing pixels, supporting developers. The way that success was measured was really like, did I meet my deadlines? Did I deliver what the team needed? Are we getting this feature to the customer on time? But now as a manager, I'm focused more on designer experience across my team. And I really need to reframe how I measure delivery. It's not about the prototype or shipping a feature. So here are a few examples of how I've been measuring, delivering effectively. These are all really small and pixelated, so no trade secrets in here, but they're just meant to kind of illustrate some of the things that I consider deliverable for myself as a manager. The first one is a retro board that we did. We just went through what's going well, what needs improvement, and some ideas to try. We had a space for kudos, so we could give each other shout outs. We time boxed this. It was all about, oh, hold on. High five. It was all about, making space to get feedback from the team, but also, celebrate what's working, celebrate how we're helping each other out, things like that. The next one is kind of a jumble. If, like everyone, you're looking at something like this for the first time in this session, but it was digging into the process that our team goes through to create components for the design system. So creating this in a detailed way that could unblock teams and help them get through the component creation process faster and more consistently. This is still a work in progress, but creating something to get started was a big deliverable for me personally. And then the third example is just a sprint plan diagram, taking a concept that we wanted to cover and breaking it apart into sprints, into something that we could work through and assign and and cover as a team. So those are just a few examples of how deliverables have looked a little different. The next topic to cover is calendar. If anyone out there has become a manager, you probably get this, but some of it varies like from one organization to another. But from my personal experience, if I could sum it up, my calendar kind of has been eaten alive as I've shifted to being a manager. There's just more focus on spending time with people versus spending time on my own, getting heads down time. So as a designer, heads down time was really the focus. I was able to tinker, iterate, get work done, meet deadlines. That was the big focus. But as a manager, the focus is really connecting with people, communicating, getting feedback, asking questions, working together to find solutions. So for example, as a designer, the big focus was like try to carve as much work time in my week as possible to meet my deadlines. So things like time spent getting organized or at a team kickoff or getting my work reviewed, it kind of felt like distraction from what was important. But in my role today, it's kind of become the opposite. So for one, the work time off on my own has gone down drastically, but also the things that have come in have risen in priority for myself. So the time spent replying to messages, which before felt like distraction, now it feels like, okay, that's a way I can unblock my team. So it's actually a high priority for me. So really, we had, if this purple was to symbolize the time when I'm delivering value, essentially everything listed out here becomes purple because those are the ways that I'm helping my team meet their goals. I've got two other concepts to bring, and then we'll have a lot of time for questions. So the next one is skills. So as a designer, again, it was all about execution, doing design the best and fastest way possible. So things like visual design, attention to detail, prototyping, that was, my jam. But now I lean a lot more heavily on facilitation, problem definition, service design, and ecosystem design. And there are a lot of skills that have changed, which I'll break down a little bit, like a few examples. Some designer skills, like the ability to learn new tools and apply them. In the past, config happens, Figma releases all kinds of new features. My focus would be, I need to learn those features so that I can do design better. But as a manager, the skill I need to have is being able to communicate value and advocate for skills growth within the team so that I can help make space for all the designers on the team to go in and learn those new features and do their job more effectively. As a designer, prototyping, wireframing, creating design specs, that was a huge part of my skill set. As a manager, it's more about strategy, adoption, competitive research that makes sure the prototyping that's going on is really in the right direction from a strategy perspective. Attention to detail in designs, in the pixels, was really important as a designer. As a manager, it's more about attention to process and things like clerical requirements. And all of this, it's not totally cut and dry. Obviously, if I'm a design manager, I should probably also understand the details of the designs so that I can help coach the designers on the team. But the day-to-day, the things that I'm doing, those skills look a little bit different. There's also some skills that haven't really changed. They've just changed scope. So a few examples, empathy and design thinking were things that I would do as a designer, really focused on customers and thinking through like the pain points of the customer, trying to find opportunities, bringing that into prototyping, validating it. as a manager, it's more about empathy and design thinking focused on my team. So thinking through like what are the pain points in joining our team and getting onboarded, and how can I find those opportunities to make that process better. As a designer, communication super important with my team, with my developer friends, to help create the things that we're creating as close to designs as possible, and gut check my designs, make sure they're realistic, and change if I need to. It's kind of a two-way street. But as a manager, it's more about communication with the whole team, stakeholders alongside our team, leadership outside of our team, and just other peers in manager type roles. Next up, conversations also look different. So I'll just focus in on like a specific type of conversation, which is doing critique, getting feedback on work, giving feedback to others. For years, my feedback in critique type settings was always considered optional. It's just coming from a peer designer. It's optional. It's a welcome perspective, but not a requirement to act on it by any means. And my role in those settings was to help find solutions, to ask questions, but bring ideas and push on things together. But as a manager, I really need to frame up my feedback as clearly as I possibly can, because if I'm sharing something without the preface of, have you tried something like this? This is just an idea, then it might be taken as more of a directive, which is not healthy for a design culture from my own perspective. So my role in settings like that is to ask questions, to make space for others to bring their ideas and have a healthy dialogue. So as a designer, it was all about giving ideas, sharing feedback. As a manager, it's really about asking questions and also asking questions, just trying to create space for other people on the team to share their perspectives and yeah, really get the dialogue going. And then as a designer, I'm consistently asking for help when I need it. As a manager, it's more like sharing opportunities. So understanding how people want to grow, and then trying to find ways that they can jump into opportunities and accomplish the growth they're aiming for. All right, one last tiny concept that I'll share for today. My reading list looks pretty different too. So as a designer, I would mostly look through articles and listen to podcasts from designers in the industry that I respect or admire, and I would read about how to accomplish things technically. Anytime really I face a new challenge, I kind of go into research mode. So that's what I did when I first joined US Bank, and I'd never worked in the financial industry before. I had to go out and learn as much as I could about the world of depositing checks on a phone and whatever else. So I had to do a lot of learning. And same with moving more recently to the design system team. I had to go out and understand at a deeper level different design systems and different approaches and strategies, different best practices that are kind of popping up left and right, what can be accomplished within design tools versus the code, and understand that at a deeper level. So going from designer to manager for the first time, it was a similar practice. Something that really helped me was having one-on-one conversations with experts, whether it's a manager within my current team at US Bank that I see doing really cool things and I see is fostering a cool team culture, connecting with them and understanding like what do they do, what have they learned, what works and doesn't work for them. I also find articles from industry leaders, again, the people that I kind of admire what they're doing, read some books. I like to either read them or listen to them, either way. Try to get exposed to more ideas about how to lead people in healthy ways, and also get inspired by parallel industries. So one example would be organizational psychology and understanding how people interact with each other and how to encourage people to do their best work. Has been really helpful in my professional life, but also just life in general. It's helped me kind of understand more about how people tick in general. That can kind of help in any sort of relationship. And last thing I'll share is just some examples of what has inspired me. Again, there's space off to the right here. And if you're not in the Fig Jam, if you feel like you want to share anything to go in any of these spots, you can add links to the chat as well. And I'm happy to migrate that stuff into Fig Jam for you. But these are some of the books and articles and podcasts that have really helped me. I added like a little snippet of each one in case they're new to you, so you can kind of see what they're about. Feel free to jump into any of these that are helpful. For me, it's been helpful to think of them more as like a gateway. So I can read Radical Candor, and then within that book, they're probably going to cite like 5 other books that sound interesting, and I can go down that rabbit hole a little bit. So feel free to check any of these out that might be helpful. Again, there's some organizational psychology stuff in here, like Atomic Habits and Culture Code. Those are going to be probably interesting outside of professional life too. So definitely worth checking out if you're interested. Cool. So I'll pause there. Awesome. I hope people are able to take something from it, and I've learned from the questions and from the feedback. So I definitely appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill, once again. Thank you for this wonderful talk, and thank you, everyone, for joining in today. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Rupa. Thanks, everyone.